Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that? Like,
kill the lights, so baby, close your eyes. The way you're looking at me, you got me mesmerized. Something I can't escape, feel like I'm lost in space. You got that good loving, girl, if you leave me, I might throw my heart away.
Hello, Vol Nation and college football fans. Welcome to episode 2 of the VolBoyz podcast. Guys, what a wild weekend of college football and what an ugly win for Tennessee, but a big win nonetheless. We'll get all into all that on today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And be sure to follow us on our socials on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at VolBoyz Podcast. That's boys with a Z. My name is Trevor, and I am joined by the boys. We got Connor.
Hey, what's up?
Andrew.
What's up?
And Levi.
Go Vols, baby.
All right, lots to get into on today's show. We're going to start out with a Pitt recap. Guys, what a crazy game. What a just a wild ending to that one. Let's start out by a quick recap and some takeaways from that game last week.
All I gotta say is it's not a Vol football game if you're not already panicking within the first 2 minutes of the game, and that's how this game went. I was like at the beginning, I was like, this game's over, we're done. Like when we went down 10-0. I was really scared, to say the least. I thought we'd hyped up Tennessee a little too much, and the game was not gonna go our way. But thankfully, I was wrong. But that's the start of the game to me. If anyone wants to pick up on that and say anything else.
I mean, the big thing for me is you talked about the rocky start there. Guys, we found a way to win. I mean, years past, I don't think we find a way to win that game. Just the early on offense is not rolling. Just starting in a 10-0 hole, it definitely seemed dire in that situation. Just a crazy ending to that one, though. Like, to get into overtime, only score like 3 offensive points in the second half, I think. You get into overtime, score quick, actually score on a Hendon Hooker run that gets called back on a penalty. Toss to the end zone, hit Cedric Tillman for the game-winning touchdown. What would be the game-winning touchdown? Defense comes up clutch in the end. The big sack by Byron Young to get us to get Pitt all the way back.
I think it was Trayvon.
Really? Trayvon for the sack?
I think so, yeah, because I remember somebody telling me he had like the best worst game and like that sack.
Yeah. We'll talk about
it was
that.
a safety blitz.
Okay, yeah. But to get him in that 4th and goal from the 20-yard situation, defense came in clutch at the end of that game. What a roller coaster of emotions that one was, though, for sure.
I definitely agree with that. I didn't like the full game, the way we played our offense. I thought would have done so much better than they actually did. Still played an amazing game with Hendon Hooker coming in. Started out rocky, of course, missing a couple passes, but found his groove and actually got into it. Loved our defense for the game, but our run defense, I think, is where it killed us in that first half, because they had a lot of rushing yards, and then they broke off that 76-yard touchdown run to go up 10-0. And I think our defensive line played so much better than they did in the Ball State game, which I understand in the Ball State game, we obviously had more substitutions, but I think they stepped up big, and that's what I love to see.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, overall it was sloppy start, horrible start for Tennessee overall, just starting out. Just did not look like they did or should have offensively. But, what was honestly just the biggest thing was, our defense honestly saved that game, which who thought we would have been talking about a defense when, everybody's just been hyping up our offense this whole year. But, I thought after the first half, really, I thought our defense really settled in and played a really good game. I think, Tillman had a great game. I think he had some drops and stuff too. We just got to clean up a lot of things offensively, from this past weekend and learn from it. But like Trevor said, I think it's great. We normally 9 times out of 10 in the past, like, we're on the opposite side of this and we find ways to lose the game, which we tried every way to lose this game, no doubt about that. But we found a way to win, and I was overall happy with the defense. We talked about it last weekend, and our keys to the win and keys to the game is just defensive pressure. I mean, they had like 15 quarterback hurries or something. It was insane, but
Mhm.
I'm just getting pressure and constantly Aaron Beasley, bro, just constantly hitting. Slovis and their backup, whoever I can't remember what his name was, but yeah, just overall happy. There's a lot of things we got to clean up. You can't play like that against, in SEC play, but overall happy with it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that we opened up the playbook. We talked about it a little bit last week. Recapping the Ball State game. We were a little bit concerned, right? Because we hadn't really seen anything. It's crazy we scored 59 points on them. Didn't really see anything. We opened up the playbook against Pitt. We took shots down the field, which was good to see. Defense, like Andrew said, had a lot of pressure,
Mhm.
a lot more blitzes. Just putting hits on the quarterback was definitely something that helped save that game. Just the constant pressure. We were definitely the more physical team, which I was really excited about for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely
Um,
crazy to think about how like we didn't even play the best game I think we could play. Honestly, that game could end up being one of our worst games of the season, which is kind of funny to think about that we play like not that great against a Pittsburgh team and win, but then if we played like that against Bama or like even played a great game against Bama or Georgia, we still might probably lose those games. But it was good to see that even if we don't put out the best product on the field, we can still beat some good teams with what we've got. And that's nice to see because like that's what elite teams do. Elite teams win games even if they have a bad day. And so that's good. That's what this game showed me because teams like Bama, even on off days, they still come out and win games. Like with the Bama Texas game, they had a horrible game, they still won. And so that's that's good to me to see personally.
Mhm. I agree with that. I think it definitely shows that we can play, but I think this is sort of an off game for us. I think we went into it especially, and we were down talking Pitt. Didn't think they should be ranked as high as they were, and I think that sort of set us back to where like, okay, we got to sit back in our offense. We got to throw the ball, but also what I didn't like about the game is our running game. We couldn't get anything going, and I think that that's also if we would have been able to get more of that, not necessarily sticking to that run game, but if we could have gotten more running, I think we definitely could have came more about in the game. But I agree with you, Levi. I think we definitely have a chance to run with all these top teams, but we have to fix some things about this game.
Yeah, I think Jalen Wright had a pretty good game. He like whenever he did rush, he rushed pretty good, but the problem was is he fumbled, and
yeah.
that's unacceptable. Like I
Mhm.
at the moment this season, Jalen Wright has showed me he's a better running back than Jabari Small, to be honest. But the
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
is Jabari handles the ball. Jalen has, I think that might have been his second fumble. If not the second, it was his first, and that's still not good. And so
Hmm.
that's a problem. So this week needs to be a week where they figure out the run game in practice and figure out why we're dropping balls because that's
Hmm.
unacceptable. If you're going into a game like against Florida, Bama, any of these top teams, and you're fumbling the ball on a key drive, you're gonna screw yourself. So that needs to be priority one, I think, for the offense is figuring out the run game and figuring out how they can handle the ball better.
Ball security is a big thing in games like these, and especially like you said, for Florida, if we're coming in, we need ball security.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we kind of touched on them a little bit, but guys, what's some positive takeaways from this football game? Obviously, it didn't go exactly the way we expected to, but I think we underestimated this Pitt team. It was a tough game, a tough environment to be in. Um, so what's some positives we can take away from this game? Heading into Akron, but also mostly looking forward to that Florida game.
Um, I think a big positive would be the defense. I did not expect going to this game that I would come out saying the defense won it for us, but that's what I'm coming out saying. Like that was probably one of the best defensive performances outside of those big plays that we let up that I've seen as a Tennessee fan in forever. Like the way they just hunkered down and won that game for us and kept Pitt from scoring, which I know it was a backup quarterback, but the reason that backup
Mm-hmm.
quarterback was in was because of our defense. People Pitt fans and other teams fans keep saying, "Oh, Tennessee barely beat a team with their backup quarterback. Oh, that means they're not going to be good." That's a terrible argument because first of all, we're the one who knocked out that quarterback. And second,
Hope
it's
he's okay. Hope he's okay.
yeah, I hope he's okay. But second, it's still a good team. A team is not
Yeah.
only run by his quarterback. And that quarterback that came in, he's probably still pretty good. He was a redshirt or senior, I think, a super senior.
He was a top 20 QB in his class whenever he came out of high school. That's what I saw
Oh
somewhere.
yeah.
Yes. And then people were like, "Oh, he was hobbling too." Well, who do you think caused him to start hobbling? Tennessee. So that defense showed me that they can get it done. And if we can pressure the quarterback back like that the rest of the season, I think we're going to be looking real good. And I think we're going to win a lot of games. So defense is key for this season because I know our offense, as long as they can bounce back from this, I know our offense can score points. And so it was good to see that our defense can play. But that's my biggest takeaway from the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a common theme among all of us guys. Defense, like Levi said, they won in the game for us, and they definitely stepped up when we needed it. And I think I talked about it a little bit last week. I don't know if I talked about it on the show or not, but I was talking about how if our offense ever struggles, which we have not seen our offense really struggle against many teams during the tenure right now, Josh Heupel's tenure right now, but guys, the defense came through for us when we needed it. I was just talking about how, when the offense struggles, if the offense struggles, defense has to win games, but can they? And they showed, this past week that they can win games for us. That they just physically dominated that team. Um, the pressure was unreal, and that really is what, won us the game. Obviously, the defense had bad moments, but what won us the game, is that QB pressure. We talked about it a lot. That was one of our keys to victory. I think Andrew was talking about that, and it was very important. And they just physically dominated.
A quick thing I want to bring up because you said the keys to victory thing. I told y'all about turnovers, which I mean, we were pretty bad in turnover and still won. But I told you that's what changes games, and we screwed ourselves. I will stand by this. I think Tennessee wins by at least 2 touchdowns if we do not turn the ball over when we did those 3 times in the fourth or third quarter. So that's from here on out. We got to fix turnovers, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna let everybody else speak, but turnovers are really bad.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. And sort of sticking with the theme, obviously defense is going to be a major positive. Even though they weren't great as times, like Trevor said, still did really well with QB pressure, which is exactly what we talked about last episode. Is what we needed. 16 QB hurries for this game, 9 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. I think that definitely kept us in the game when we shouldn't have been. Loved the way they played. But I'm going to throw it back to the offensive side where I'm going to bring up Bro McCoy. I think he played a really good game. Only had 4 receptions for 58 yards and a touchdown. But all those catches, he was breaking tackles. And that's where he got most of his yards from. And I think he played a really good game. And so that's what I'm going to stick with. I think the receiving core could have had a better game, obviously, if Hendon Hooker did a little bit better with passing, 27 for 42. But I still love the way he passed the ball. Threw no interceptions, which I'm surprised he did. He didn't because of the way that game was heading. I think he definitely loved his progression throughout the game where he started out not doing so great and then actually found his groove. And that's, I think, something that we can definitely look forward to is like, even though he can have those games where he starts off not hot, he can find his groove and he'll actually get back into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely obviously say defense was something to look forward to in this that really shined. I was going to talk about Brew as well. Even with the his touchdown catch with there's a whole controversy. Did he step out? No, he totally got pushed out. I mean, that
Yeah.
was a good call, I believe. But obviously the 4 receptions. I mean, and he had that critical first down that got us just on that scoring drive with breaking
Mhm.
that tackle and somehow managing to get that first down, which was huge. I think overall positive. Hooker, like we were talking about earlier. He started out rough. I mean, the offense just was not clicking at the beginning of the game. It was very noticeable. And just being able to find the rhythm, and every time they kind of got in a rhythm, there was the fumble, the turnover, or something like that. But I think it's overall positive that normally when something like this for Tennessee in the past, when it starts going downhill, it just kind of gets worse. But they flipped the switch. Josh Heupel didn't give up, went in halftime. And we got it back in the second quarter, and we kind of. I know the third and fourth quarter was really rough, but overall, I think the defense is just the biggest takeaway here. Like that, they can show us that they can play. This was a good, regardless, this was a pretty good Pitt, offense. With a good front. I mean, Slovis was just. I mean, he was just slicing us at the beginning. We finally settled in though, and found our groove. But I think just Tyler Barron and Byron Young, just getting pressure on the quarterback, and obviously, I liked Beasley a lot this game too. They just kept getting to the quarterback and hitting him somehow. Even if they were getting the ball off. I mean, those hits on a quarterback after so long, it just takes a toll. You know what I mean? But overall, I just think that's a big takeaway. Brew, we have to get him the ball more. I feel like but I mean, you go to your big time playmaker that you can trust in big time moments. So obviously, we know Tillman's a baller. So, but yeah, I also want to go back to what Levi was saying real quick. I think without, like he said, a couple mistakes, we should have been up by I think 2 touchdowns as well. I think we could have had this game put away with at least like 3 different drives. It felt like with just things going wrong. Um, and I think a thing we need to work on, especially is our special teams for sure. A little bit with just punt returns is what I'm been worried about. But overall, I think the defense showed us they could do it this weekend, and they're going to be able to hang with us. And yeah, I'm overall just happy with it, even though it was a pretty sloppy game. I think the defense just really proved themselves this weekend.
Yeah, Andrew, going back to what you were saying about the offense found its rhythm. I think it's great. They showed that they can face adversity and get over it. And kind of settle in as the game went along. But I think the main thing I wanted to touch on, you said the offense in third and fourth quarter, it was a little bit rough. I agree, and I think the main reason for that is that the offense was just not on the field very much. If you look at it, I think both of our special teams mistakes came in the second half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So we just didn't have the opportunity. And then once we had it, I think Wright fumbled. So you're only looking at a couple possessions in that second half, and we were only able to muster a field goal.
And didn't Wright fumble on a first down too?
I think so. Yeah.
So we
I
literally,
I
it wasn't
would like
like
to see.
it wasn't like
Yeah.
he fumbled on a third down and we were gonna have to punt it anyway. We literally
Yeah.
just lost the ball when we were having good offensive push.
I would really like to see, how much time of possession we had that second half and how many plays we ran because we really honestly didn't. That's what makes that overtime drive, crucial and very important and honestly impressive is, kind of coming off, nothing in the second half, being cold, sitting on the bench, coming out and picking up where we left off in that first half in that overtime section where we just really stuck it to them. A couple of big plays and we were in the end zone and that was really it. They couldn't respond.
Yeah, we had 10 minutes less possession time than Pitt.
Yeah, it
And
just
I
didn't
think
seem
that
like we were on the
was
field. Yeah.
which I mean, for most Tennessee games, that's been good, but that's when we're scoring. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
if we aren't
exactly.
scoring and we're going 3 and outs, I mean, it does start to concern you because
It puts a lot more pressure on the defense, even more when when we have less time of possession, but we're scoring, right? Because
Oh yeah,
defense has to come up with stops. If we're not scoring and we have less time of possession, that's defense is on the field. they've got to make stops, and they showed they can through this game, and that's honestly that is the biggest takeaway as we've been talking about is just that's very good to see.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have to rely on our defense more this season than we did last season, I think. So
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now, and actually, which is not super surprising to me, but it's surprising from the rocky start that we had. Pitt had 44 attempts passing on only 23 completions, while we had almost 50 more yards than them passing on 42 attempts on 27 completions.
yeah,
That makes me happy. I think what gets our possession time up, which I talked about just a little bit earlier, is and like Levi was talking about, is if we get our rushing, if we get consistent carries, doing like at least 3 yards per attempt. We only had 2.6 per rush this game.
Yeah.
I think if we get our rushing up there, or our possession time is going to go up. But if we are scoring and we're passing, I'm okay with our possession time being kept down.
Yeah, I agree, and that's something we can talk about as we get into things to improve on. Levi, if you want to start us off with that, kind of going back to Connor's point of the rush game is important in this offense, right?
Yeah, it is very important. Something we definitely need to work on. I think we have the players to get it done. It's just I'm not sure if our offensive line is really blocking too well for our rush, but also I don't think Josh Heupel's necessarily giving it a chance because we didn't really try to run the ball too much. So I don't know. I think it's just something we need to work on. Another thing I think Tennessee needs to improve on is kind of throwing the ball to other people other than Cedric Tillman. And yeah, I know he's a great player, but the thing is, if you're throwing it to Cedric Tillman every single play, first of all, they're going to know who it's going to, and so they're going to double team him. But also, any football player, because if you look, people were talking about how Cedric Tillman didn't have the greatest game because he dropped some balls. I mean, yes, he did drop some balls, and it kind of hurt him. But the thing is, when he the thing is if you're getting that many throws to you a game, you're gonna drop some balls. You're not gonna not catch some. So I think we need to try and get the ball to Brew some more. We need to get it to Jalen Hyatt some more. We just need to spread the ball around because those two guys can make plays too. And I don't think it's Josh Heupel not wanting to pass it to those guys. I think it's more Hendon kind of just likes throwing it to Cedric Tillman because he feels confident in Tillman, which I understand. That sometimes happens to quarterbacks, but we need to teach him to kind of get the ball thrown around a little bit better. Because
Yeah.
if we get it to more people and they're making plays, the better it is for our offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
No,
Trev.
you're good.
I was just gonna say, like when you look at Hooker too, like when I went and rewatched the game, he really just scans. Like it looked like he was just scanning. He didn't even really give a look to the other side of the field of Tillman, which a couple of times Brew was just like wide open. Same thing with Hyatt a little bit, which he got targeted the most I think this game.
He did.
And he had a quiet but a pretty good game, like 73 yards, I think, with 11 receptions or something like that, which wasn't bad. No touchdowns, but I think we have to get the ball to Brew more, too. I think that just evens the playing field. When you have two playmakers on opposite ends, it's really just a stress on, defensive, coverage to cover those two big body guys. And then plus you have Hyatt in the slot. I think definitely I agree with Levi there, just working on, and I'm sure they're showing him in the film room, when they go back, hey, look at this, make sure you're scanning this. Sometimes, in a quarterback's head, it's just everything's going so fast and clicking, you just want to have that. But there was definitely a couple times when I saw he didn't even scan the other side of the field,
Yeah. Another thing
Yeah, I mean,
is Brew caught 4 balls and was only thrown
Yeah,
to 4 times.
receptions. Yeah,
He's 4 for
yeah,
4, which is good.
yep.
So I think Brew needs to get the ball more. But that's all I'll say
I have
about
a
that.
lot of trust in him. Yeah, I have a lot of trust in him for sure.
I just think it goes back to Hooker. Cedric Tillman is Hendon Hooker's safety blanket. I mean, going back to the beginning of the game, whenever he wasn't being as accurate, who is he looking to? Pretty much the whole time. That's Cedric Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
He was targeted. he was targeted a lot this game. And Tillman's got to be better, at catching those
Yeah, I mean,
balls.
he had a couple.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he had a couple
he
drops for sure in the beginning.
the beginning of that game, Hooker and Tillman both looked off, and they were both the
Yeah,
only two players that were touching the ball. I mean, so we got to get those guys in a rhythm, and we got to definitely spread out. And we're going back to Connor's point. I think he made last week. He was impressed at the Ball State game. Hooker was spreading out the ball. We need to get back to that. Obviously it was against Ball State, so he's definitely more comfortable. It was a whole different environment in Pittsburgh, but he's definitely
Mhm.
needs to spread out the ball more, like we were talking about. Because we have a lot of other guys. We got Brew. I think Hyatt's a great weapon that I don't think we've really used yet in his career. Honestly, I don't think he's been used properly at all in his career up until this point. Like, he's our speed guy. We need to get him the ball more, and I think he could be a key part of this offense. We just haven't thrown the ball very much. This game we did, and I think most of those, like we were talking about, how Hooker scanning the field, not really looking at anybody else with Tillman. I think most of the times Hyatt caught the ball was a scheme fit, like a scheme play. If you look at all
Mhm.
those plays, they're immediate screen passes, they're immediate slant passes. He's going to Hyatt the whole time, and I think it's just a
yeah,
scheme play. Like, there's not a time in that game. I don't think out of any of those 11 receptions, Hyatt wasn't the guy that was supposed to get the ball on all those plays. If you watch the game, um, one more thing I want to touch on is you guys mentioned Brew. Four catches, 4 targets. Guys, I'm pretty sure the touchdown to him. I don't even think Tillman was on the field. I'm not completely sure, but if I'm not mistaken, during that game, basically when Tillman's not there, Brew's that guy.
Mhm.
But he's
yeah,
got to be that guy more often, I feel like.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it's just a matter of Hennon realizing and watching film and seeing. Definitely it's a trust thing, and a chemistry thing for sure. Where Bruce
Yeah.
knew coming in, but I mean, he said he has total trust in him. And I think it's just he might be more comfortable throwing to the right side of the field too. I mean, that's probably for sure a thing. Because we've definitely seen him miss a couple deep balls on the opposite side. And yeah, I'm just overall with you guys too, going back to the beginning of the game. I think Hooker and Tillman's just got to start. They got to get in that rhythm fast and quick if they're going to do that. I mean, because you look, Hooker was off. He threw. I mean, Hyatt was there in that, like the first play or whatever. He just missed him. I mean, that would have been a big chunk too. And I think definitely getting Hyatt more involved, not just these little screen and scheme plays. I think he can get behind the defense pretty quick. And I mean, he's basically, to be honest, he's got the same speed, I feel like, as Bayless. Just
Yeah.
taller and, can go up and make a little bit of jump balls, maybe.
And what made us so good last season was starting out the game, fast. And I think that's what we lacked
Yeah.
this game. And that's what definitely hurt us at the beginning. Connor, do you have any things that we can improve on upcoming this season?
I definitely think, as Andrew was talking about earlier, special teams could definitely be something that we could improve on for sure. I don't like that we aren't getting many yards on our returns for kickoffs or even our punts, and that's one of the big things that was Tennessee's game the last couple of years with Marquez Callaway and all them
Yeah.
coming out and just really giving us some motivation to start out a drive. Obviously, Trayvon Flowers had that muffed punt. He's going to fix that. That's not something that's we need to be worried about because I mean it happens to really everybody that's a punt returner.
Look at the LSU game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think that there's really nothing we need to worry about with special teams. It's definitely gonna be something to improve on. The only thing we need to worry about is our return yards that we're getting each game. But other than that, I mean, I think Paxton Brooks could definitely do a lot better with getting the ball out on his punts a lot sooner. I feel like he's sort of sitting back there eased and relaxed to punt the ball, and I think we need to get his kicks need to be out just a little bit faster because I understand he wants to pin them deep and he wants to get a good kick, but sometimes if you're backed up that deep, you just need to punt the ball. And I think that was one of the things that I looked to in that game was the special teams. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't even think Trayvon Flowers is the guy that's supposed to be back there. I think it's supposed to be D. Williams, but I think he's been hurt
okay.
through the first two games. I think Trayvon Flowers is like either the backup or the other return guy. I don't think he's the
Hmm.
one that's like supposed to always be back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Valus and Marquez Callaway, both guys were electric, and we definitely need to get back to that. Couple more things I want to touch on was I just think our DBs, need some work, and we talked about this, the week before, Ball State. I don't even know if it's necessarily the DB's fault all the time, but there was some blown coverages in that game.
Hmm.
Especially their tight end Bartholomew, caught that pass, hurdle Trayvon Flowers,
Oh yeah.
scored like
That was
60
awesome.
yard
That was
touchdown.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
57-yard touchdown. I, it was just a blown coverage, and that was actually Jeremy Banks, I think. Just the guy
Yeah.
snuck behind him in the zone. I think it might just be zone that we're not doing very well on. Because if you look at some of those man coverage, you know, I, when their backup came in, they were running a lot of slants, a lot of square a lot of in routes. I think we
Yeah,
were playing man because our guys are right there breaking up passes. But as far as zones
yeah,
go, I don't know what we're doing.
it
Go ahead,
it
Andrew.
seems like they're just scared to, lose on the deep ball, you know what I mean? So they play back and they just
Yeah,
allow them to stay in
but it's
front of
just
them, but like yeah, they're letting them get, good chunk plays and then coming in on the tackle, not like kind of really playing. I see what you're saying for sure.
just giant
Like
holes in the
that's
defense. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
there's just guys wide open in the middle of the field, and there's like four Tennessee players, like all like 8 to 10 yards away from him, but he's
Yep.
wide open, and
Yeah.
it's something we
It's an
definitely
easy
need to work
throw.
on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing I want to touch on. You guys might have something to say about this, but I just need to go back to the thing about the run game. We got to have a run game to get this passing game to work as well. We can't put all the
Mhm.
pressure on Hooker. We definitely need to try to run more, like you guys were talking about. We just,
Hmm.
I think Levi was talking about it earlier. Josh Heupel just has not, you know, we did not call a lot of run plays, and the majority of the run plays we called were QB runs. And
Yeah.
personally, for
Yeah.
me, we need to get away from that. I don't know about you guys, but we need to stop doing that design QB run. It's gonna
Yeah,
get
before
it's gonna get
SEC
hurt.
play
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
it's gonna get
you want to
Hooker
keep your
hurt, dude.
quarterback fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not working. Like, I don't know if you guys wanna talk about that a little bit, but it's just not working. I just found the scramble was a lot better,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
it didn't even work either, so
Yeah. I'd
Especially on
agree with
that front
that.
for Pitt.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. I definitely think that's something that can work, but with the quarterback that we have, it definitely scares me every time I see it happen.
yeah.
But I definitely think it's not going to be a big breakaway run. I mean, Hendon Hooker was getting about on good plays, he'd get it like at a max 5 yards. That'd be like a designed second down run, maybe that you call like twice a game.
Yeah.
Because he can be electric getting out, but I like the scrambling a lot more, the scrambling ability.
Yeah.
But also, what I didn't like about that game is he as soon as he felt pressure, he tried to take off, and that's where a lot of the sacks came from, and a lot of the tackles for loss. Because all it was just he'd feel the pressure, and he'd try to escape the pocket, and he wouldn't keep looking downfield. And if he'd
Yeah.
look downfield, he'd see these open receivers, and I think we would have had a lot more yards.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know if it was the way that they were rushing him, but he seems to always go towards the middle of the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually scrambling is outside like you're saying, he needs to get outside the pocket.
Yeah, and you look too on the in overtime, it got called back, but that was scrambling, and he actually ran it in. I mean, he can make
Yeah.
big plays
Yeah,
when he
he can.
bounces, and scrambles, but not running straight through. I just don't like those design
Mm-hmm.
QB runs that he gets, really.
Yeah.
For sure.
See,
For
I,
sure.
s-
So,
I
no,
don't
yeah, go ahead, Levi.
I don't think that Josh Heupel doesn't want to run the ball. I think that he would like to. I don't think he's confident in his running backs, which I'm confident in
Mm.
them, but I don't know. I'm just
Well,
not
too, you got to
sure.
think their depth is very low too right now. They might be just trying to, get by because if you lose Jabari or Jalen, that just puts pressure on. You got two freshman backs that's your backups, really. So I don't know if that might have something to do with it, trying to keep them fresh at least till we get to Florida and these other games. But yeah, I mean, compared to last year, I thought our run game was great last year and it
Hmm.
opens up passing plays and big plays. But it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. I don't know if that's their strategy going into it with how thin they are back there, really, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our stars of the game. Levi, who's your player of the game?
Player of the game. I'm gonna have a very unorthodox player of the game, and I don't think he played good throughout the game because he doesn't play throughout the game. But his one key play helped us win this game, and I think Chase McGrath might deserve a player of the game because
Yeah,
that
Sir.
field goal won us that
that
game.
was huge.
And
I
that
was gonna
field
say
that was a
that. Yeah,
great field goal too. That might have been one of his
yeah,
longest in his career. And another thing is y'all might have not watched the Titans game. I watched the ending of it. The Titans kicker, who is an NFL kicker, paid to kick field goals, missed a 47-yarder, and Chase McGrath made a 50-something yarder. And
Yeah,
so
51.
that was huge. A 51-yard field goal is really good, and it won us that game. So I think he deserves player of the game because of that.
yeah,
But there's
And
other
we were
people who
already,
deserve it too. But
yeah, I mean, we were already struggling with special teams so for him to come in, hit that
yeah.
field
He's
goal,
pretty solid.
clutch, yeah,
I do
clutch
like
for
him.
sure.
Yeah,
All right, for me personally, I'm just gonna go with Hendon Hooker. Um, guys, he struggled at the beginning of the game, no doubt. But for him to come in, end up with 325 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and most importantly, 0 interceptions. I think Andrew touched on that earlier. He's still the leader of that offense, and he took the control of the game when he had opportunities. He did
yeah,
make plays. He made throws. He missed a couple. We can get that cleaned up though, but he's definitely my player of the game.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm gonna go with one. I he didn't play amazing throughout the whole game. Obviously, almost cost us the game with a muffed punt, but Trayvon Flowers actually stepped up from how he played during the Ball State game, which really was good to see because of our secondary play. I love to see. I mean, he had the interception um, during that. I want to say he was either first half or second half. Um, first quarter, second quarter. He got that interception right at the goal line, which was there where Pitt could have scored. He also had that sack right at the end of the game to just
huge.
really seal the game. And I really liked some of our blitzes that we had. Like our blitz packages worked really well, and that's what we talked about in the first episode. Like if we weren't getting pressure, send our cornerbacks, and we sent some of our secondaries in, and they got some pressure, and I really like to see that in. So I think Trayvon Flowers definitely got that.
Yeah, I would say I did like the way Trayvon played. I like the way our front played, just defensively in general. But I'm gonna give my offensive. I think it's just got to be, your big time playmaker, Tillman. Clutch moment, overtime. Under all the lights, all the fans. Away game, huge win. Just went up and made a play, man. Overall, I mean, he missed some things, but I really think, in big time moments, you go to your big time playmaker, and I think that's Cedric Tillman this weekend, man. He really showed off. So that's going to be my player of the game. But I also loved, really the way, Beasley and a couple other people played. Our line played on the defensive side of the ball, too.
All right, guys. So before we get into the Akron preview, I just want to touch on one more thing. Um, Obviously, our schedule only gets tougher from here. Really, once we get into SEC play. So are we worried about the rest of the season for the Vols?
I'm not any more worried than I was before the Pitt game. If anything, I'm a little more confident just because of what I've seen from other teams, not necessarily from what I've seen from us. But no, I'd say I'm about the same as I was at the beginning of the season on how I felt about the season because I think we'll get better. I think we're only going to go up from here. Because that's usually how our seasons go. We usually start off rough and usually get better as the season goes on, which is a really good sign because we started out rough, but we still won the game
Hmm.
that we were playing rough in. So that shows me that we can improve on the season and get better. Plus some of the teams I've seen that we're playing seem very beatable. Like LSU, I think is very
Hmm.
beatable. Should win that game,
Yeah.
I think. Florida, very beatable. Think we should win that game. Bama, don't think we should win that game, but I do not think they are unbeatable
Yeah.
like a lot of people think they are.
Yeah,
And Georgia, I haven't seen other than that Oregon game, we haven't seen too much from them, but they look pretty tough to
yeah.
beat. But I mean, I didn't think we were going to win that game in the first place. Maybe we can compete in it, but I think we should win a lot of games this season, so I'm pretty confident. But as long as we don't make mistakes. So that's my takeaway.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to clean up our mistakes. And like you said, we only get better as the season progresses. And I think the defense showed me enough this past week to know that we will be competitive in all of our games. That doesn't mean we're going to win all of them, but kind of like last season, we went into every game last season, at least I did, thinking that we had a chance, even against some of the bigger opponents. Not thinking we were going to win a lot of those games, but just knowing we were going to stay competitive. This season, I think we will be competitive in all of our games and make all of those games close, and win the majority of those. As you were talking about, Bama, Georgia, only two teams that really we shouldn't win, but we still should have a chance. Just the way the defense played, I think is gives us some hope for the rest of the season.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We definitely have room to improve, and I think that improvement is going to make us a lot better. I, I'd say about the same. I have the same mindset as Levi. Hasn't really lowered my or heightened my worry about how the season could go. I think it definitely our comeback in the Pitt game definitely made my feelings for the season a lot better. Um, like Levi said, we can definitely stick with these top opponents, and Alabama definitely could be a beatable game, but I think we have to play perfect because Alabama always has those where like they can come in and they'll just play a perfect game, and I think we have to do the same thing if we're going to be competing with these top teams like Alabama and Georgia. And I am really excited for the rest of the season and see what we can actually do.
Yeah. I'm not any more worried. I mean, a little bit less. Think about it last year. I mean, we were 1-1 starting out, losing to Pitt. I think it's just showed the growth. We found a way to win against Pitt at Pitt. And thank goodness we did because they would have, clean. We don't play them next year, which I really wouldn't mind playing them every year. I think it's a great game, the Johnny Mayers Classic. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel good. I think we do have a tough schedule coming up after this. I mean, it's just going to get a little bit harder every time, and we can't sleep on any opponent, as you can already see through the college football world. It's been pretty
Mhm.
crazy so far, but. Looking, what gives me confidence is just the home games we have. We got Florida at home, Bama's at home, Kentucky's at home, Georgia's at Georgia. That's going to be really tough. But we have Missouri, and then we finish out away at South Carolina at Vanderbilt. But those are all games that we are going to be in on. I think Georgia is going to be really tough, and Bama, obviously. But playing at LSU will be tough. I think these are all winnable games, though, for sure. And the bye week comes in, after that Florida game, I believe. So, or somewhere or another in there. I believe it's after that Florida game. But, I'm excited. I think as long as we can go out there, we can compete and play like, we were talking about earlier. Just a full game, man. Just a full, complete game and just not minimize your mistakes and giving away the game to, the other team. I'm confident, man. I feel good about this season. I think we can win a lot of these games for sure.
All right, guys. So we're gonna hop into the Akron preview. Obviously, it's a lesser opponent. Probably one of the worst teams we're going to play all season. We're favored by 47.5, and we have a 99.2% chance of winning this game. Guys, what's some keys to a victory? I know it's a lesser opponent, but what's some keys to win this football game?
Getting on the field. That's one of them. Just showing up. I don't know. This game, I think the likelihood of us losing it is very low. As long as Tennessee doesn't go into the game thinking it's going to be a cakewalk, I think it's pretty easy. We're going to win pretty easily. And so I can say that because I'm not a Tennessee football player and I don't have to prepare for the game. But as long as the Tennessee players prepare, it should be an automatic victory because Akron is horrible. They are one of the worst teams in the country. But I think the keys to victory is just playing a good game and just I don't know. It's pretty much a scrimmage game in a lot of ways, which is it's just how cupcake games are, especially with teams that are as bad as Akron. So, I mean, I could eat crow and we could have an Appalachian State moment with Texas A&M. I hope not.
Mm.
I don't think it'll happen. I think, like ESPN predicts, 99.9% victory or whatever, 99.2. The likelihood of us losing this game is very low. So I just think as long as the team shows up, we win. And by show up, I don't just mean get on the field. I mean shows up and plays like they should. Or even honestly, we don't even if they did have a bad game, they'd probably still win, but preferably have a good game. So yeah, if anyone
I
else
don't
wants to
see us
kick in.
having any problems in this game. The biggest thing, like Levi said, show up. Uh, honestly, just show up to the game. But main thing for me, I think a win in this scenario is staying healthy, guys. Guys, we need to get
Mhm.
healthy for this Florida game. Make sure everybody comes
Yeah,
in to the game healthy, leaves the game healthy. We just need, our playmakers. Everybody needs to stay healthy. I fully expect us to have backups in by halftime. I hope we do, just for the sake of, player safety, man. Keep Hendo Cinco healthy, man.
Mhm.
We need these guys to be healthy going into Florida. So that's the key to victory for me is just stay healthy.
Yes, I agree with that. I'd love to see great defensive play. I could see where Levi's coming from with the obviously Appalachian State, Texas A&M, but I don't think we have anything to worry about for this game because obviously, like Levi said, if we do play more poorly than we thought we would, I think we'll still find a way to win the game. The way our defense played last time, I think we'll have plenty of QB pressure. Um, I'd love to see our offense just go all out this game. Just throw everything on the field. Get as many touchdowns as we can. Like I'd love a 100-point game. Like let's
the
just break that scoreboard.
the only problem with
Um,
that though is I don't know. I think Josh Heupel's going to pull a Ball State and kind of keep the game a little bland because he doesn't want to give Florida
yeah,
any film.
I
So
he will for sure. And I think more as a Tennessee fan, I think I'd love to see just all out. But I see where Coach Heupel definitely is going to keep it a little bit more bland, like you said during the Ball State game. I think definitely won't be a close game, but it'll be about the same as the Ball State game. And Akron is definitely worse than Ball State. I feel like if they played, Ball State would definitely beat them. So I think we'll put a lot of points on the board, and I think our defense will step up, and I don't think Akron will. And if I'm being honest, I don't think they'd even score anything if we had our backups in the whole game.
yeah, I agree. I think it could be a shutout. I might predict that, honestly.
Hmm.
We'll see. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, so I got Tennessee on upset alert, guys. No, I'm messing. I'm messing. But no, my keys, man, start out fast. I mean, like, the Ball State game. Get up quick. Don't even have to worry about it, dude. Take your starters out at half, save them for the game. Be conservative. Um, I think that, what's important in this game, I've heard that D. Williams and Juwan Mitchell are probably going to be back this game. Get them guys some reps so they can be comfortable and we can get them back in, our defense, and build that and have more depth there going into the Florida game. Definitely, like I said, just starting quick, play like you should play like you did against Ball State. Just come out and play the way that everybody knows you should play, and don't surprise anybody. This should be a game that I can see, a lot of guys rotating in again, just like the first game of the season, getting, good experience. And honestly, just hopefully I just want to see us pitch a shutout. I would love that. We came close against Ball State. I just want to see the defense really play good this game. And, I think our offense is just going to click. Everybody stay healthy too, but yeah, just start fast and just finish.
All right,
Yeah.
obviously our backups are going to be in the game for the most of the game. So, guys, let's focus on that for the players to watch. Who are you excited to see? Whether that's mostly just backups. So, what backups are you excited to see in this game?
Joe Milton.
Yes.
For sure, for sure.
Yep.
Squirrel White, Walker Merrill, just really
Dylan
everybody.
Sampson, bro. I'm
Dylan
excited. I want to see
Sampson.
the other running back.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Justin Williams.
that's one of my players to watch because I think he has an opportunity later down the season, if not sooner than later. To get into that rotation. We didn't see him at all in the Pitt game.
Yeah.
He showed he has what it takes, though. I mean, I know it was Ball State, but he honestly looked like our best running back. It's obviously a bad
Yeah,
opponent,
he
and he's a
showed flashes
freshman,
for
but
sure.
he did, and
Yeah.
he showed vision, which is something that I think some of our running backs lack. And also
Yeah,
he was
for
breaking
sure.
tackles. He was breaking tackles. I'd love to see
Yeah.
him. Joe Milton, obviously, big arm.
Best quarterback in the nation.
The Jimmy, are the Jimmys still on the team? Holiday and Callaway.
Yeah, they're both on there. Yep, they're both
Yeah,
on.
we'll see some of them hopefully.
Uh,
I
yeah.
just want to see
Of
him
course,
have fun, man.
I
Go
think
out there and have fun.
I think Andrew brought it up on defense. I want to see, hopefully, I guess C. Williams, is that his name?
D.
And
Williams.
Or
Yep.
D. Williams, yeah.
D.
And
Williams,
Jawan
and
Mitchell.
Jawan Mitchell. I want to see them get in the game. Hopefully, that's not guaranteed yet, I don't think, but hopefully
Both those
they'll.
guys are playmakers, man, and we
Yes.
didn't
Yeah.
have them, so and we still played a
And I
great
think
game.
that's definitely this is a great game to get them back in. When I watched his press conference too, Josh Heupel, he expected them for the most part. They were going to do the final evaluation today, but they felt good about them coming in today or Saturday and playing. Which can we just talk about why this is a 7 o'clock game
Yeah,
and on
I don't know.
ESPN Plus? I mean, come on,
I think
save a night game for
Danny
something
White
else.
might have asked for it to be a 7 o'clock game because he wants to
We
use
sold it
all.
out though, right?
No, yeah, we did, but I'm saying I think he might have wanted it to be a night game because he likes the fan experience. And
I mean, it's almost sold out. I mean,
I
it's
will
pretty
say
impressive for.
night games in Neyland are way more fun, but night games at home that's not for a good game are really suck.
I
Because
just wish it was. Yeah,
it's Akron. I gotta wait till 7 o'clock to watch it. I'm gonna be up late watching us destroy Akron. I'd much rather it be
I'll
a
probably
noon
turn it
game.
off at halftime, guys.
Yeah, well,
I'm kidding.
I'll probably watch all of it, but
I'm gonna watch all of it.
it just
Yeah.
sucks.
I am.
It just sucks because a noon kickoff for these cupcake games is so much better. But this is the second
Yep.
time we've gotten a night game
Yeah.
for a cupcake game. Why
Bro,
couldn't
playing
we
night
get
game against Florida.
I know. The only thing is that was out of our hands because
CBS. It was CBS.
CBS
Yeah.
wanted that. And so that's what sucks about it. Because night games, I went to that Ole Miss game. Dude, it changes the experience with all the new stuff they have. It's so cool. Like with the lights
Yeah,
and
the fireworks are gonna be
fireworks.
sick. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's worth going to a night game in Neyland, but it's just for the fan at home, it sucks.
Yeah.
But
I'm
everyone at
hoping
the game's
Kentucky
gonna
will
have
be a
fun
night
though.
game.
Dude, me too. I'm thinking about trying to get tickets to that one. I think
Yeah.
with my dad, maybe the Alabama game, but I don't know. The tickets for the Alabama game are already expensive, but the Kentucky ones are affordable, so I'm hoping to go to it too.
Yeah, there's $61 I'm looking at right now, like cheap ones, so that's not
Yeah.
bad at all.
All right, Connor. Let's wrap it up with the players to watch for you. What guys are you keeping an eye on?
A couple that I'm looking at. Looking at some of the backups. I'm see some of DB sort of step up. I'd love to see Brandon Turnage. I'd love to see him sort of step junior this year. Sort of been behind everybody throughout his career. Played a decent game. 8 was 1 solo, 1 assist. I think that DB a lot of doing a lot of obviously having interceptions. That's our DBs. But one of my sort of on the low radar that I'd love to see in, and honestly, I don't think Joe Milton should come in at all. Navy Schuler. I want to see him come in and play quarterback.
Yeah, let's see. He's Schuler's son.
Didn't
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
we played 5 quarterbacks against Ball State, didn't we?
He dropped a snap, didn't he? And Ball
Might
State
I want to
game.
see Jackson
it-
come in, bro.
I think we
I want
played
to
literally
see. I
every
want to see
quarterback.
Jackson.
I think we did. Yeah. We
Yeah.
had a lot of QBs playing that game.
I want to see Harrison Bailey, man. What? Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, you don't even see him
Oh.
at UNLV. I don't even know if he starts
No.
there.
Remember
He
when he
should have
was
gotten the
the
starting
hope
job.
for Tennessee?
You know
He
who
was
is
Mhm.
the hope
starting?
for Tennessee.
I don't think none of you have said anything about this to me, and I haven't brought it up. But you know who is starting at where he transferred to? I'm pretty sure.
Isn't it?
Caden Salter? I think he's starting at Liberty right now.
No
Oh
way.
yeah. Yeah.
He was that guy.
Yeah.
He was that guy who transferred like a week into the season because he got in trouble,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we
He
all
didn't
were like,
even-
he's gonna be the next coming,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he transferred. But
Yeah, he didn't even have the start at the start of the season for Liberty.
No, but- no, he
Because
is,
the was it Utah's quarterback that came in to play for Liberty? Sorry guys, I remember the name, but then I don't remember it anymore. He came in because he was transferring. They thought he was going to be the guy. Charlie
Yeah.
Brewer, the Baylor quarterback from last season.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He transferred to
happy
Liberty.
for
He
Caden, though.
played awful.
I'm happy for Caden Salter though.
Oh,
even
yeah.
though it didn't work out here.
He's actually, like-
especially since Hendon Hooker's worked out for us. If Hendon Hooker hadn't worked out and Caden was succeeding, I'd be a little mad about it. But since we're fine on quarterbacks, I'm happy to see him succeeding. And so, yeah. But
All right, guys.
QB rushing
Score-
yards.
Score prediction. Score prediction time.
score predictions. Ooh, yes.
Levi, start us out.
So
What you got?
my score prediction, I haven't put too much thought into this, so I'm just gonna make a prediction right on the spot. I'm definitely gonna say I'm gonna make a bold prediction here and say that Akron does not score. That's my first bold prediction, and then I'm going to make another one by saying we score, let's see, 63 points. Right?
63-0.
63-0. I think that's a good score. We could see that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my prediction.
I agree. We're gonna shut him out. There's no doubt in my mind. We're gonna shut him out. I think it's gonna be 55-0. Mostly because I think we're gonna play a lot more backups than we did against Ball State.
Mhm.
So 55-0. Michigan State won 52-0 last week. So I'm gonna go with 55-0 for Tennessee over Akron. Connor,
Yeah.
what you got?
I think we are so much better than Michigan State. I feel like if we played Michigan State, we could definitely beat them if we played a good game. So I'm going with a really bold prediction. I'm going 74-0.
Love it.
Blowout game.
Love
Tennessee
it.
on top. I think our passing game is just going to go off. I think Cedric Tillman could get over 200 yards passing in this game. If he can
I want him to get
start
2
catching the balls.
touchdowns
Yes.
so we can get free
Did you
cookies, bro.
say
Come on.
74-0, Connor?
Yes. 74-0.
All right. What about
All right,
you?
Carver.
All right, guys. I'm going 99 zip just because the scoreboard's not going to go past 99.
Hey,
We're
you're
going to score
Akron.
more than that, but it won't even be able to keep up. I'm going
They're
90.
Akron
Oh,
Zips,
balls
too,
by
man.
99.
Oh,
Balls
yeah.
by 99, baby.
They're Akron Zip too, man.
Actually,
Akron
though,
Zip.
yeah. I mean, I think we're going to pitch a shutout or they're going to score maybe like a field goal or something, dude. Like,
Yeah. I agree.
let me see here. I think we're going to score like I think we're going to score. Man, dude, this is tough. I'm going to say we're going to score probably like 70 points, bro. I'm going to put 70. 63, 70, somewhere along there. And so I'll go 63-0 or 63-3. I want the shutout, though. So I'll go 63-0.
Hey, you can't copy me, man.
All right, fine. I'll go 70-0 then.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
70-0?
Levi owes me Florida, or Levi owes me tickets if that's the score. So
Yeah, I definitely
63
agree.
nothing? No, because I was the
yeah,
first one to say it.
no, if it's 70-0, you owe me tickets.
Okay. That's not gonna happen,
He
but
goes,
okay. So yeah.
There you go.
never
Yeah,
All
I
right.
definitely
happened, bro.
agree. I think we should post a shutout, but I think if anything, they could at least score a field goal, and it'd be a long field goal. There's no way. I don't even think they get in the red zone unless we turn the ball over in the red zone, which we shouldn't. I don't think they should even have a shot at getting in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a rough day for Akron, I think.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we come out and handle business, there should not be a problem at all.
Yeah.
So we can touch on this real quick before we get into some college football games that happen across the country. But guys, how much do we prep for Florida? Were we prepping for Florida all week? Like, are we basically skipping Akron, prepping for Florida for 2 weeks? Is that how we're looking at this?
I don't think so. I think obviously you're incorporating things, but like Josh, I mean, he wouldn't even answer the sold out. When they asked him, once they were asking like, about the Tennessee and Florida sellout, crowd,
Yeah.
he just said nothing. He said no. Like I think they're definitely taking it one game at a time, which is the way they should be. Obviously, they're incorporating things they want to use in that Florida game, right? But obviously they might be getting a little head start, but you want to keep your guys focused, I really feel like, because I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want some crazy upset and that just flips the whole thing. That's the biggest thing I've found. Keeping your eye 1 week at a time is a big deal. And I'm actually reading right here. Tennessee just gave Josh Heupel a $5 million contract extension
I saw that.
above, so that's huge. That's good. Keeping our coach around. Josh Heupel just looks very serious this year. Like he wants, something's big is going to happen. I'm really hoping so. Yeah, I think they're taking it one game at a time, man. I think obviously you're working on things to improve for that Florida game, but I don't think you're necessarily focusing on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're definitely looking. I mean, we can't let Pitt look past Akron, no matter how bad they actually
Yeah.
are. But I do think they're prepping for Florida. I just don't think that they're going to release that to the public. Obviously, you're trying to get a game plan. That's one of the biggest games on our schedule this season.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're
It's
game
a tough
planning.
in
Like,
between.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think prepping for Florida goes as far as, hey, we gotta clean up
off
the
season.
mistake
Yeah,
of this game. We got.
yeah,
I think just prepping goes as far as
yeah. We're all
we gotta
trying to
clean up
improve
mistakes.
before conference
Yeah,
play. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean that's
So
what you're really working for because that's what matters.
yeah, this game is to build more defensive confidence. I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real here. Tennessee's paying Akron to come play Tennessee.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just how these games are. I mean, Ball State, UT Martin later on down the road. That's just what they do.
yeah.
And it's sad to say we paid schools to come and actually beat us. So in the past, so we're not gonna let that happen. But yeah, that's all I've got to say.
Hey, Texas A&M did that this past week. They paid a school to
Yep.
come beat
Yeah.
them. Same with
Yeah.
Nebraska. Same with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll happen to us though.
No.
It's Akron. They suck. At least with Appalachian State. Appalachian State's actually a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Somebody clips
So is
this if
Marshall,
Akron beats
honestly.
Tennessee.
Yeah, and we can get into that. All right, guys. So the week 3 AP poll came out on Sunday night, dude. I was kind of surprised about this one. There's a lot to talk about in it. First thing for me, man, Kentucky is way too high. Like, let's just talk about that to start it out.
Yes.
Kentucky. I mean, go ahead. Someone else go ahead.
Yes, I think Kentucky, same thing I said last week about Florida. It was an overreaction. People this season, everyone is just overreacting to wins, and it's really crazy. Like there's some that deserve to be overreacted to, like Texas A&M. They shouldn't even be in the top 25 anymore.
Yeah.
I agree.
But like
Oregon shouldn't either, personally.
Mm-mm.
Kentucky
Yeah.
beat an overrated Florida team. Yes, it's a good win.
Hey, but
Like,
it was in the swamp.
it
Oh my.
doesn't make any sense how that win projects them all the way up to 9.
Where were they at last week? Does anyone know where they were at last week?
I don't remember, but Florida wasn't
Let me
even
see.
number wasn't even number 9. So like it
I think
doesn't
they were
make any
20.
sense.
Yeah,
How
Kentucky was 20 last week. Yep.
it doesn't make
It's
any
just to me,
sense.
bro.
And
The
Kentucky didn't
AP
even look good in
poll
the game. It was a
voters,
close game. It was a
Yeah.
like the
close game.
voters, bro. It doesn't even look like they're watching the game. You just see the scores. Like I don't
Yeah.
really know, bro. The AP poll has just been weird this year in general. I'm just saying that about everything. Like I feel like shoot, what are we talking about? Florida beats. They're ranked like 36 going in week 1. They beat the number 7 Utah team. They jump all the
Mhm.
way up to what was it, bro?
Like
It was
12.
insane.
12,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, like, just overreacted. I feel like
Yeah.
on everything.
See, the problem
Uh,
is the AP poll doesn't really matter. It's
yeah,
the college football playoff poll that matters, but
yeah,
this is all we have to go off of right now.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's just like an 11 spot jump for Kentucky for a win against a mediocre Florida. Let's be real. I think Florida. I mean, guys, all of us maybe except Levi. I don't know. Levi probably overreacted to Florida last week. I definitely did.
Yeah.
They made Anthony Richardson look silly. I mean, let's be real.
Mhm.
Florida is a one-man team.
They are.
They have nothing other than Anthony Richardson, and I don't even think
yeah,
Anthony Richardson is that good.
Their defense is one of the best in the SEC East, I think.
yeah.
Still a
I
good.
thought
It's a good
ETN.
SEC.
I
It's a
think
good SEC
ETN's
defense.
pretty good.
I
Yeah,
think so too. Yeah, he
they
is
got
good.
a couple playmakers, but obviously, I think Anthony Richardson is really like considered to have to like carry this team
Yeah,
per
and I
se, and
don't
it,
think-
it really showed like in that Kentucky game what they expected him to do, and he just wasn't able to match.
That being said, I think we're gonna struggle containing him, but we'll talk
Yeah,
about that next week probably. But guys, Michigan I think deserves to be at 4. I'm glad they're at 4. They've
yeah.
looked good first 2 weeks. Ohio State,
Yeah.
I don't know why they're still there. Guys, that win against Notre Dame is not looking very good right now.
Mm-mm.
And where's Notre Dame? They're off the top 25.
Yeah,
I think
I don't think
Florida
they should be
definitely
top 3.
deserves number 1 after Alabama's week.
I agree.
yeah, for sure.
Yep. I'm glad they
Baylor,
moved it. I didn't think they were gonna move it. Yeah, Baylor at 17. Guys, I think BYU deserves 12.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're at 12. Big
BYU
win for
definitely
them.
deserves 12. Pitt, I'm surprised they didn't drop out of the top 25.
Dude, same. I'm
Um,
very surprised.
I'm fine with them staying in because that makes our win look a little better.
Yeah, but
um,
West Virginia dropped the game to Kansas. Uh,
Yeah,
this
I
past
think
weekend.
Kansas is good though. I think they're way better than a lot of people are going to give them credit for. That doesn't mean I think West Virginia's good, but I'm just, or that Pitt win was good.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying people are acting like Kansas is the worst team in the country, and that's not the case. I think Kansas might actually be pretty good in the Big 12 this season, but I mean only
Yeah.
time will tell for that. Texas getting into the top 25, that's pretty good. I think they deserve
I think
it.
that's the main surprise for me though, I think. Moving into the top 25 after a loss. I understand. I agree with it. It's just kind of a surprise if you
It's
look at
weird.
it.
It's
you know.
weird to rank somebody
is
after
weird.
they lose, but I think they deserve it because they played so good against the number 1 team. And so
I think they should be the favorite in the Big 12. I'm not sure about Oklahoma. I don't know why they're at 6.
it's because they're Oklahoma. It's not.
Yeah.
There's probably not any logic behind
Guys,
it.
any surprise for you other than what we've already talked
Oregon.
about?
Oregon being in the
Yeah.
top 25.
Yeah.
Ole
Mhm.
Miss, I still don't know why Ole Miss is in the top 25. I don't know what they've done
Yeah.
to get in the top 25.
Yeah.
Like I mean they could be a good team, but I haven't seen anything from them, so like I just don't know why. I could see them beating Kentucky though. I hope they do.
North Carolina State, bro.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Dude,
crazy.
most overrated team in the country right now.
For sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Kentucky or North Carolina. I think Kentucky may be a little bit more overrated only because uh people are thinking there's Kentucky fans who think they're the number 5 team in the country now, and I've legitimately seen many people say that, and they are not joking, and so that's insane to me. Like
For I
I
mean,
was listening to you guys talking like I don't know if Tennessee deserves number 15, and then you got Kentucky
Yeah,
fans out here talking like they're freaking number 5. That makes
yeah,
no
we can get
sense.
into that. We can get into that. What do you guys think about the 15 ranking? Because I mean, like Levi said, I don't know if we actually deserve it,
yeah.
but
I don't know. I still think it's too early to tell, man. Like, I don't know. what were we ranked at? 24, jumped up to 15. Like, I just feel like, in the past, these AP polls, it takes like a team time to go up the rankings. It takes a couple wins, like, to really jump. I mean, teams are going from, they're jumping like 11 to 12 spots a game, it seems like sometimes, like, bouncing crazy. I think we might, I could see us being like, honestly, I could see us being more like a 17 or a 16. A little too high, I feel like, but not that. I just feel like we still have more to prove. We didn't
But
play a great game,
the
in
thing
that
is,
Pitt
do you
game. I mean,
guys
there was a lot of things.
do you guys honestly think that we would lose to the teams that are behind us or in front
That's
of
what I'm.
us?
That's what I was getting ready to bring up. I was
Because
getting ready
I
to bring that
don't.
up.
I think
The
we'll
reason
beat them
why I
big
think we're
time.
at 15 is because, like Levi's saying, like look at all the teams behind us. We beat Pitt. I mean, just look at all the teams behind us. Like, should we lose any of those games? I don't
No.
think. I don't think we should.
Like other than
Connor.
maybe playing Texas at Texas or like
Yeah,
teams at their
that's the only team
places.
I was thinking too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
Connor, Connor, you got any thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with Levi. That's what I was about to say. It's like Texas would be the only team behind us, but also like look at some of the teams ahead of us. I mean, Utah and Florida played. If we think we can beat Florida, I think we have a chance of beating Utah, especially if they play their game. Miami, I mean, they looked terrible in their last game.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
I think if we go off that, we could definitely be higher. I think 15 is obviously it's going to be deserved because I think we deserve to be top 25. Obviously, I think 15 could be a good spot for us, but I think, like Andrew said, I mean, it's too early in the season. I mean, I feel like we're going to keep going up. I don't think, again, like Trevor said, obviously, I mean, the AP poll doesn't really mean anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna put us into the college football playoffs if we get up top four
well,
because
if we
what's
beat
that gonna do?
if we beat Florida and LSU before playing Bama, we'll be in the top 10. I think
Mm-hmm.
We
because
I
should
think
be.
we.
Yeah.
there's
I
gonna
think
be
if we
teams in
beat
front of us
those
that
two,
lose.
yeah, if we beat those two, we should definitely be top 10. And I think that's our prove it game, our Florida game,
In the LSU
and our
game.
Kentucky game. And I mean, you got to think about it.
The
I was
thing
looking
is,
at it.
they're gonna want that if we do win those games, they're gonna want that Alabama Tennessee game to be a top 10
Oh yeah,
matchup.
yeah. And you look at Kentucky. I think they are too high, but I think they're the same team that they were last year. They beat Florida last year. They beat LSU, but we came through and we beat them. I mean,
I think they're a worse team than they were last year, personally. I don't see it.
I think the majority of the East teams are worse than they were last
mhm,
year.
No, but
yeah,
Except
seriously,
maybe Florida's improved a little bit, maybe.
I don't see like what makes Kentucky better this season. The only thing they have Will Levis back. That's about it. And I didn't think
Did
Will
they even
Levis was
get
good
top
that
10
last
last
season.
season?
no, they only
No.
finished 18.
Yeah, I think Levis had like 2 picks, didn't he? Or 1 or 2
Yep.
picks.
Yeah.
I don't
It
understand the
was
hype
He
around
around.
had a, he
him.
had a pick. He had a pick.
He had a pick, yeah.
Their
He had
hype is
202
basically
yards.
their hype is basically that people want them to be good and they had a good season last year. So people are saying they're going to be good this year. But nobody's looking at they lost players. They didn't get anything new really. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
have Will Levis is coming back and would they have their blue glasses on thinking Will Levis is the greatest quarterback. There's somebody that guy on Twitter who said that Will Levis is the best quarterback in the country. People in the comments were like, dude, he's like 45th in like passing yards or whatever, and they went through and gave stats on why he's not the best quarterback. And then he's like, if you're only looking at stats, then then you're wrong. Like, dude, stats is what shows you what a quarterback can do. He's like, oh, it's the eye test. He's the best in the country because I can see that he's good. Like, dude, that makes no sense whatsoever, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's nowhere near being the top of the SEC,
yeah,
SEC East. He's nowhere near being the top of the college football. He's like, okay, I went a little far saying he's nowhere near the top of the SEC East. He's probably the third best quarterback in the SEC East behind Hooker and Stetson Bennett. I honestly think Stetson Bennett's a better quarterback from what
yeah.
I've
He's much
Oh,
seen.
better
this
Especially
year
than
this
for sure.
season.
Yeah.
He showed pretty good this year, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing I want to talk about before we move on from the AP poll, unless you guys had anything, was getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, our SEC power rankings. Guys, I think we all have Arkansas above Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one of us doesn't. Um, we'll get into that later. But I think Arkansas deserves to be a top 10 team, or within Sorry, I think they should be higher than 10. I'm
Mhm.
looking like 8 range for them.
Definitely
They
higher
played
than
really well at the
Kentucky.
beginning of the season. Yeah, they should be higher than Kentucky. I think they played well at the beginning of the season. I haven't seen anything from Oklahoma State. I haven't watched any of their
Uh-uh.
games, but I think they should be there, where Oklahoma State is. Personally, I think they're Bama's biggest competitor in the
Bro,
West this year for sure.
sorry. I'm just looking at Kentucky's schedule, bro. It's so cupcake, man.
It's so cupcake, but I still think they lose
Yeah.
to Ole Miss and Mississippi State, honestly. Like
Yeah. I mean,
that's the
like,
funny thing. The funniest thing is they have the easiest schedule in the SEC, and I still do not think they win 10 games. I'm calling it now. I think they lose to us, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. Four losses right
And
there.
that's where I was looking at. I mean, I think they basically have the same team as last season. I mean, that's literally all they did. Like their schedule wasn't hard, and they beat Florida, and everybody started overreacting
The
because
funny thing
Florida.
is I think their schedule's actually harder this season than last season.
I mean, I could definitely see that, but I think they're playing a lot more
No,
teams that
I think
aren't
it's
like
just because
because.
I think Ole Miss is better. I don't remember who they played last
Oh
year.
yeah, well yeah, I'm
Maybe
looking at the schedule right now. They played Florida,
I
LSU, Georgia. They
yeah,
lost to Georgia.
they
They
beat
lost to
LSU.
Mississippi State last season,
Yeah, they lost to us,
and.
Mississippi State, and
Mhm.
Mississippi State, and Georgia, and they beat
Mhm.
LSU. But I think Ole Miss is better than LSU, so that's why I
Yeah.
think their
Oh
schedule's
yeah.
harder this season.
LSU is nowhere near what they were, a
No.
couple of years ago. So for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't feel as confident about saying Ole Miss is gonna beat them as I do Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is the most underrated team in the country, personally.
they are very
Uh,
underrated. Yeah.
but I think Mississippi State beats Kentucky, honestly. But
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you want to talk about our games of the week, what was our most fun game to watch this past weekend? Um, Obviously, besides the Tennessee Pittsburgh game was not a very fun game to watch, but what was the most fun game for you guys to watch this weekend? What was the best game you guys thought?
okay, I didn't watch too many games this weekend because I didn't think they'd be as good because there's a lot of cupcake games, which I mean that turned out being wrong because there was a lot of upsets. But if I had watched the Appalachian State game, probably would have been a really good one to watch. I did. I was up really late at night, and I did catch the ending of the BYU Baylor game, and
Mhm.
I missed some of the best parts, but I saw the very end. And from what I heard, that game had a really crazy ending. So for me, probably between those two would have been the best games of the week for to watch personally. But I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I watched like the whole Alabama Texas game. That was the
Yeah.
best game of the weekend for me personally. Dude, Bama looked human. Texas faced adversity, dude. Their QB got injured. Quinn Ewers
Oh
backup came
yeah.
in. Hudson Card. He he was more of a game manager for them. Quinn Ewers was making some throws. If he doesn't get hurt, that game might have been different. Guys,
Oh
biggest
yeah.
takeaway from that game for me, Alabama looked sloppy. I think they had over 10 penalties. And then Bryce Young was just pressured that entire game. Like Texas was bringing the heat. There was also typical, but there was also a lot of missed calls against Bama.
Mhm.
A lot of defensive pass interference. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a stupid safety play where Bryce Young got sacked in the end zone. Should have been a safety, and they say he got rid of the ball before his knee hit the ground, and it was just like a penalty. Texas didn't get any points. Um, I think that was a missed call. They just had a lot of missed calls. Bama got lucky. Let's be real, and that was a very good game to watch for me.
Yeah, it also shows me that Texas might not be as bad in the SEC as I originally thought. We'll see. Uh, they could
Yeah,
be. I think they could end up being pretty competitive in the SEC now. So we'll see
for
though.
sure. Connor, what's your game of the week?
Um. Yeah. Obviously, the Alabama Texas game was good. I'm gonna disagree with you, Trevor. Oh, oh man, I'm a big fan, but I was watching that play when that happened, and definitely at fast pace, just the normal speed of the game, it looked like he definitely should have been down. But if you look at the replay that they saw, where they looked at it and you could see he was taken down, the defender rolled him over on top of him.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so he was able to get the ball out. It was very close because it also
Was
goes
it-
back to
yeah.
the rule of what the saw. Because it could be considered down if the ball is still touching his fingers. I think that's where it could have been back and forth.
Yeah.
And obviously the refs went
But-
with.
Yeah. So
I think
for
the
that one-
penalty. Yeah, I think the penalty shouldn't have been. Because I saw that shouldn't have been a roughing the passer penalty. Because that gave him a shot to actually punt the ball away. I was
Yeah.
like. But
So
also with
it
the
was-
call for that. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but
No, you're good.
for that call, they already called the roughing the passer. They couldn't have overturned the roughing the passer. They overturned the roughing the passer call, and I was
Yeah,
so
well-
confused.
Yeah. There was just a lot of confusing moments in the game when it comes to penalties, and I just thought, did he not get called for unintentional grounding?
Because there was
He
a running back in the area, is what they said,
Wow.
but I don't know
just-
where the running
there
back
needs to
was.
be I just think personally that should have been a safety. I mean, I guess he, obviously wasn't touching
Yeah.
the ground,
hmm
but man, there's got to be a way for that to be a safety because
Yeah,
he was.
and I think, and that's really
if
one
there's
of the big.
intentional. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's where one of the big thing comes in. We need to have something where the refs are like reviewed or something like that. There's a lot of that in these games now, especially in like college and leading into the NFL. I mean, there's a lot of those, and I think refs they have to have something or some sort of. Obviously, I don't think games should be turned around like if they do a review after the game, but I just think something should happen with the refs to where there's more.
I think one good thing
Consequences.
one thing that would be really awesome if it would happen is if there was a ref press conference.
Mm.
Like if
That would
after,
be-
after the game, the refs had a press conference to explain why they did what they did, and they get questions asked about by the press, and they get drilled. And
Oh, yeah.
And if another thing is if like something really egregious happens, like there was just a really bad call, like
hmm
a ref needs to be held accountable. They need to either
Yeah.
get a suspension or something. Like whenever people are bad at their job, they're punished. Except
Yeah.
refs. Refs are never punished for doing a bad job.
Nope.
Yeah.
And so we just need some more consequences for refs who don't do their job properly or
Yeah.
mess up. Which, I mean, I understand. It's hard. They're not going to get everything right, and it's not like they're trying to get it wrong, but like we can't have this because it seems like it happens so much where plays are just messed up and games are being decided by refs, and we just
Yeah.
can't have that happen. So it just needs more accountability for refs, is what I
Mhm.
think. But
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But with that, that's going to lead to my actual game of the week, which took a while to get to it, but that's my bad. I loved the Marshall Notre Dame game. I cannot believe the upset that Marshall won, but I mean, insane game. And I think that was just Notre Dame. That just proves like there's no way they should have been top 10. Like,
it also
Yeah.
shows
At all
me that
last week.
Ohio State fans who are complaining like, we got a top 10 win. We should be number 2 or number 1. Shut up.
Yes.
You did not beat a real top 10 team, and you barely
Yeah.
beat them. You beat
Yeah.
Notre Dame, who is way overrated, had no business being in the top 10. They're not even in the
Mhm.
top 25 anymore. And it wasn't
Mhm.
like, see, the thing is Georgia beat Oregon and knocked them out of the top 25.
Mhm.
Ohio State beats Notre Dame. They're still in the top 25. And then Notre Dame gets beat by Marshall and gets knocked out of the top 25. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like they were knocking them out of the top 25. Their opponent that they had played in the past got knocked out of the top 25. So it's like Ohio State, you're probably good, but you're not the until you beat an actual good team and do it handedly, you do not deserve the number 2 or number 1 spot. And it's not SEC bias. It's you don't deserve it yet.
Yeah.
Prove yourself. So
Yeah, the only thing SEC bias about it is that the SEC is the top division of all college football, and I think it's going to be like that forever. I mean,
And I don't think that Alabama deserves to get knocked back to like number 4 or 5 after
Mhm.
barely beating Texas. They had a bad
Yeah.
game. It was at Texas, and they didn't lose. They pulled through it. Even if they did
Oh yeah.
lose that game, they probably would have only gone back to number 5, if
Mhm.
we're being honest. And so maybe there's a little bit of SEC bias there, or Bama. Honestly, I would say it's Bama bias more than SEC bias because then
Yeah.
people wants to rank Bama as high as possible whenever they get the chance. But I just don't think Ohio State deserves a spot over Bama, even after Bama almost lost to Texas, personally. But
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, Carver, what was your game of the week?
Dude, I got two. I got the Appalachian State game and I got the BYU game, man. Both impressive. I've been up, dude, to Boone, North Carolina. Actually, I've been up there a couple times, bro. That place was bumping after this
Yeah.
win, bro. This upset. If I don't know if you guys saw the videos. I mean,
So
that
many
place was
videos, man.
insane, bro. Yeah, and it's going to be crazier this weekend with College Game Day, which I think Appalachian State deserves. There's not really going to be that like good of games anyway this week. I think is what we were talking about with Levi earlier. But dude, we called it too. BYU upsetting Baylor, bro. I think me and you called it, Trevor.
Yeah.
Last week with
Mhm.
thinking BYU could come in and take care of business, bro. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, they showed up. It was a fun game to watch, dude. Started off kind of slow, but I mean, after that second quarter, kind of was good. After the half, though, I mean, it was just all BYU. It really felt like.
Yeah.
Um, that was just such a fun game to watch, back and forth. Good quarterback play too. But yeah, both of those games, man. Appalachian State though, almost. It would have been awesome. They were so close in that first game against North Carolina, man. I mean, that was just crazy, you know.
I would have loved
Like
for
40
them to
some
start 2
points.
0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That would have been awesome. But I mean, to win against the SEC team that was ranked so high, like number 6 or something, man. I mean, like, dude, it just exposed. They completely exposed Fisher and just Texas A&M, man. Like it was bad. They play Troy this coming week. That'll be good. But dude, I was just so impressed. I mean, a lot of upsets, dude. The Marshall game, that was awesome. Just everything, man. I was just really impressed with those two games.
good solid week
Mhm.
of college football.
It really
Oh
was.
I
yeah,
And
think this
bro.
week's gonna take a
yeah.
step back. And I think there's gonna
Yeah.
be a lot of people be like, why aren't there any good games this week? Because
Yeah, for
we're
sure. I
so
mean,
spoiled
we
for
can
the
go ahead
last
and
two
get into
weeks.
that a little bit. We can get
And
into
that's
that a
kind of
little bit here.
yeah, and that's kind of
Um,
like the whole week 3 thing, you know. It's like that 1 week before like actually like big play starts
conference
happening between
play.
SEC,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
conference
I was
play,
honestly surprised that there's been so many good games this early in the season.
Mhm.
Normally it's
yeah.
not like this. Normally there's like one each week, but this year there's been at least 2 or 3 good games each week, which is nice. But yeah, we can get into this next week if you wanna.
Yeah, I mean, week 3, couple good matchups coming up here. We got one game that catches my eye
I'm
right
sure.
away. It's definitely the Georgia South Carolina game. I just because
Blowout.
South Carolina is going to start 1-2,
Yeah,
and
Yep.
looking at the rest of their schedule, heading into conference play, they got 2 cupcakes after Georgia.
But
Heading into
guys, it's
conference
Spencer
game,
Rattler. It's Spencer Rattler.
see,
He's
I
gonna
most
save us.
overrated QB in the country. One of the most overrated QBs in the country.
yes,
Um, I mean, look at the rest of their schedule real quick. Kentucky, Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee, Clemson. What a way to end out this. I could see them losing all those games. I mean,
Maybe
we're
beating
looking at a
Tennessee.
team
I
that
don't
could
know.
finish. We're looking at a team that could finish 5-7
yeah, I agree.
easily.
They should beat Missouri and Vanderbilt, of course.
Yes, they should beat Missouri,
They
Vanderbilt.
might steal a game because I don't
They
think
will.
South Carolina
Yeah,
is
Hey,
horrible,
mark my
but
words. I think the
I don't think
Vanderbilt
they're
South
good.
Carolina game's gonna be good.
Dude, last year was only a 1 point game.
I
Yeah,
think
I think
Vanderbilt's gonna
Vanderbilt
make
didn't
a
play
couple games close this
horrible. They
season.
didn't play
Yeah,
horrible against. Like they actually put up points on Wake Forest. So I
Yeah,
mean, hey,
Vanderbilt's not a cakewalk this season, but they should be a win for
they're going to be
everyone
uh,
competitive in
other
a
than
couple
Missouri.
SEC games. They're going to be competitive in a couple of SEC games. Not every
Yeah.
SEC game, but they'll be competitive.
Um,
Um, Yeah, you guys got any games you
Well,
guys are
I
looking
want to
at
go
this
back
week?
to that Georgia South Carolina game real quick. I
Yeah,
think
sure.
it's a good game because it's going to give us a gauge on how good Georgia is, how good South
And
Carolina
SEC
is.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
I mean, of course, South Carolina played Arkansas, and they looked better than I thought they would. They kept it
In
close,
the second
but
half of that game, they looked bad in the first half.
yeah,
They came back and made it a close one.
but even saying that, it was never South Carolina's game. Arkansas had control of the game the whole
Yeah, they
time,
did.
and
They did.
so that
Yep.
just shows me that South Carolina. It was kind of the same thing with Tennessee and South Carolina. They had a horrible first half, and they had a better second half. South Carolina did, but they were never in control of the game, and Tennessee ran away with it. And that's one problem with South Carolina is they aren't they aren't competitive in the games they shouldn't win, and that's not a good sign for me. But I think this game will show us how good Georgia is, which they're probably going to absolutely manhandle South Carolina. And it's going to show us how good South Carolina is, and so it'll give us a little bit of gauge. But another game I want to bring up, and y'all can probably talk about this a little more than me, but the BYU Oregon game, another top 25
Mm.
matchup. We're going to see
Yeah.
how good BYU is and how good Oregon is, see if they deserve that number 25 spot. So yeah,
Back
I
to
think it'll be a
back.
good game.
Yeah, back to back big games for BYU. They're traveling this time though. You know, they're going to
Yeah.
Eugene. Connor's the Pac-12 expert. Let's throw it throw it to you, man.
Oh, yeah.
What's
Oh,
your take on this one, man?
I definitely think it'll be a good game. It'll be really close. I think Bo Nix will definitely step up in this role. I know they played just an absolute cake team. Oregon did last week. They came up and he threw 5 touchdowns. I mean, all 5 touchdowns for this year are in that one game. I mean, I think he could definitely step up versus BYU, but BYU's defense is actually
Really
really
good.
decent this season. Yeah, a lot better than I think anybody expected. They expected it just being all offense, like shootout, and their defense has stepped up. I love the play that Jaron to BYU. Great gambler. If he gets out of the pocket, his passing accuracy this season really good. Completing most of his passes. I mean, I think that he could go off this game, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest things in next game. And I think that's going to be QB play. I mean, either one QB is going to do bad or one QB is going to do good. I mean, I think that's really what's going to come down to for this game.
It's not going to be an easy one for BYU.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did think they pull out the dub though. Back to back wins that might put them in the top 25 wins. Might put them in the top 10. Dude, crazy. I just looked at their schedule, man. They're playing Arkansas. BYU is playing Arkansas October 15th.
Okay.
That's a good game.
That could be a
That's
big
a
matchup.
really good game.
Yeah, if they
Obviously
beat
down the
Oregon,
road a little
Evenly
bit.
matched. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Oh,
beat
they
Oregon,
even-
beat Arkansas. That's 3
Yeah.
top 10. That's a. I mean, Levi. I think Levi. You were saying. I think it was before the show started. Were you talking about how BYU could make the playoff this season if they win out?
I think I might have said it on the show, but either way, I still stand by it. If they win out this season, they probably make it into the play. They'll be like Cincinnati. They'll make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah, I
they'll
think so.
deserve it. I think if you win that, they have got a pretty tough schedule, which is
Yeah.
what teams like BYU have to do. They have to schedule tough games if they want to.
Yeah. It's not fair for them, but they do need to. It's not fair for them necessarily, but they do need to schedule tough teams because of their conference play.
Yeah, to get a
There you
chance
go.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And they got lucky scheduling an Arkansas team that's good. Like, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the sense of that it's going to help them if they win it. I mean, if they
Yeah.
lose, it's not going to help them. But
Couple
Yeah.
more games I'm keeping my eye on is Ole Miss at Georgia Tech. Obviously,
Ole Miss
Georgia
is going
Tech's
to
bad.
wipe the floor with them probably.
Well, hopefully for
Yeah.
them, but I mean, looking at their offensive production so far this season, I mean, against Troy, 28 points, right? They're known for their offense. We can also
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that App State Troy game if you guys want to.
We could. Well, you guys are kind of glossing over a game. I don't know if you guys even know what's happening. Penn State at Auburn.
I was going to talk
Mhm.
about that one. Yeah.
I think that's more important than the Ole Miss Georgia Tech game, just mainly because I think Georgia Tech's really bad.
Okay.
But Penn State Auburn. Everyone thinks Auburn's going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC West, which is probably warranted. But I think they could win this game, honestly. Does that mean I
Yeah.
think they're going to be good in the SEC? No. That just means that I think Penn State's probably overrated, maybe. So we'll see. Penn State
I don't
probably
think.
wins this
Yeah.
game, but it could be a good one because it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium. It's a pretty hard place to play. So I think that's going to be a good game to watch. Probably one of the better games of the weekend. Outside of that Georgia or BYU Oregon game, I think it might be the best game of the weekend, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they've played back-to-back years, maybe even 3 years in a row, and they've all been good games. I do think it's going to be a tough game for Penn State going to Jordan Hare, like you were saying, but I think Auburn's going to lose this game.
They should.
Yeah.
Penn State should be the better team. Auburn is kind of just not with it. The coach hasn't really been given the opportunity by the university to succeed. I'm not even sure if he could succeed if he was given the opportunity, but like nothing's going his way. The university just seems to be against him because they just, I don't know. He had a bad first season and it's just nobody wants him there and it's just not been working out. So maybe this is his game to prove himself. We'll see. I think Penn State comes out with the win, but should be a good one in Jordan Hare.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think this is Auburn's first true test of the season. I mean, they played crappy teams, and TJ Finley hasn't done anything for them. Just not having good quarterback play, not being decisive. So I think this is going to be a good game. I definitely
They,
agree.
they struggled against San Jose State last week
Hmm.
at home. Um, I mean, this is the test before SEC play. We're definitely going to see how this team performs
I will say
on
Auburn did
the
get
big stage.
lucky on their schedule. Because I just checked. Their
Yeah.
SEC East team they have to play. That's not because I mean they have to play Georgia every year. But the SEC team East team that they have to play this season that's not Georgia's Missouri. So they got really
Mm.
lucky. That could help them. They could honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they got bowl eligible just because of that. Maybe. I don't know. Because they could end up being
Yeah.
the worst in the SEC. Well, if they win all their, well, they do play Penn State. But if they were to beat Penn State, which I don't think they will, and then they beat Missouri and they beat LSU, they could get bowl eligible. So that's
Yeah.
that's good. That's hope for them. But I
Yeah.
think that's their best case scenario for this season is bowl eligibility. Honestly, maybe you never know that Alabama Auburn game. You never
The
know
Iron
every
Bowl.
year.
Oh yeah.
It's usually a good game even when Auburn sucks. So you never know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
I
any
have
other
one more
games?
game to
Okay.
look at, which I just realized Mississippi State playing LSU.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
Yeah, that's a good
I think
one.
that's going to be Mississippi State's really a true test because I mean LSU obviously might not be able to do anything, but I think that's really Mississippi State's like, hey, are we a good team? Let's beat another SEC opponent.
Another one, Miami A&M.
Mm.
Yeah.
A&M overrated, Miami overrated. Who's more overrated? We'll see.
How's A&M going to respond, to that
I,
big
I'm gonna
loss?
call it right now. I think A&M actually wins this game.
I agree, actually. I really do.
I actually
I really do.
saw A&M is actually starting another quarterback this week.
Yeah,
They're
I think
not
Andrew
starting
was saying
King.
that. Yeah,
I,
the
I,
LSU transfer.
I really do think A&M's gonna win. I think Miami's probably overrated.
Yeah.
A&M's gonna come off that Appalachian State loss and be pissed, and they're gonna come in and try and win this game, and they're gonna give everything they got. I think A&M is probably perfect where they're at right now, number 24. I think that's where they should be ranked. They should have probably been ranked there at the beginning of the season.
Mhm.
Appalachian State's a good team, honestly. So like, it's not the worst. Out of all of the teams that got upset, I think that which is funny because A&M's getting clowned on the most out of all the teams that lost, even though that was the like the best team that beat a top team. Because Notre Dame lost to Marshall. I think Marshall's worse than App State. Nebraska lost to Georgia Southern. Of course, Georgia Southern is definitely not better than App State. And then there was one other upset. I don't remember which one, but I'm pretty sure the team that upset them wasn't as good. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Appalachian State's a good team. So I think Texas A&M is still not a horrible team. Definitely not top 10. They were way overrated. But I think Texas A&M takes the win there, personally.
Andrew, you got any games you want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, guys, I'm going upset alert here. All right, we haven't
Yo.
talked about this yet. I'm going upset alert. Akron coming in and playing Tennessee. This is no, I'm messing. I'm messing. I'm messing. No, I think you guys really covered the actual good week 3 games. There's not that many. I think they're like Levi said. It's not going to be really anything like too exciting this week or have people hyped. Obviously the Georgia South Carolina game. I just want to gauge that and see how that's going to go. Where are they playing at? They're playing at South Carolina, so I guess that's a little bit of an advantage to Carolina. But they're going to need all the help they can get. I mean, especially with Georgia's defense, bro, and South Carolina's offensive line. I just see Spencer Rattler just getting harassed.
One thing I do want to bring up, I do think the last time Georgia played in South Carolina, they did
They
lose.
They
lost.
lost. Yeah.
I think
And
so.
They've had a
I
history
could
of
be
they've
wrong,
really had
and
a
but I
they've really
think
had a
it was.
history of losing to South Carolina at South
yeah,
Carolina. It's happened a couple times in the past few
South
years.
Carolina
and
is
I
a
can
pretty hard
vouch
place to
for you.
play. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can vouch for you too. Their social media team has been sure to mention that last time that Georgia played at South Carolina, so they're trying to give their fans hope. But I just don't see Beamer ball working out here, guys. I don't see
Beamer
it.
fall.
Yeah, Beamer fall. I mean, we're looking at a South Carolina team being 1-2 right here. I mean, going in. I mean, to week 4, which
Oh,
is
no
really
doubt
going to
about
be
it.
pivotal. I mean, yeah, they have. I mean, after Georgia, they play Charlotte and South Carolina State. Then it's just boom, 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 boom. SEC teams, which is it's just going to be tough for them. Like all honesty.
The SEC is
Um,
brutal if you're not
yeah,
a
uh,
top team.
exactly. I will talk about Michigan and UConn just because UConn used to be my basketball team, but Michigan should just absolutely go out and dominate. I think they've looked really impressive this year. Nobody's really talked
They
about them
have.
too much,
Yep.
but
I
I
They haven't
think
really
they
will.
look
played anybody yet,
very
but they
Yeah,
have.
that's what
they've
I'm gonna
not
say.
yeah
I think Michigan. I am not gonna have any judgments about Michigan until they actually play a good team, which is gonna be a
yeah
long time because I don't think there's really any like good
yeah.
Big Ten
They play
teams other than Ohio
UConn, then
State.
Maryland, then Iowa, then Indiana, then Penn State, Michigan State.
I don't
Oh, and then
Yeah,
they
think
their
we're.
always have
schedule
that
is
I
their
don't think we're
schedule
bummer
gonna
is
Ohio
truly
terrible.
know
State
how
game.
good Michigan is until they play Ohio
That
State.
Ohio State game,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Um.
Yeah,
Yeah,
guys,
but I mean, those are my games.
yeah, I mean, one more thing, then we can move on to power rankings. Just keep an eye on that Florida South Florida game. I mean, it's not South Florida is not going to do anything, but just keep an eye on it. I mean, check them out before we play them next
That's a
next
good.
weekend.
Yeah, even Florida should win that game, but that's a good game to
You should.
watch. Just
It is a good
because.
game to watch. Just keep an eye on it. Not necessarily watch it, but just keep an eye on it.
All right, guys. Yeah. So my power rankings here. Obviously Georgia number one. First takeaway here. I think they just proved, especially the way Bama played, just proved that they should be the number one power team right now. I think Stetson Bennett's playing good. He's leading that offense better, along with an amazing defense. I think they look really good so far. Should be a big test, or not really a big test, but kind of SEC test a little bit for them playing South Carolina this week. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, we got Arkansas at 3. They still look really good. Kentucky dropped to 5 below Tennessee. I just think, even though Kentucky got that win, I think both they're just really overrated. I mean, you think the defense kind of carried a little bit. Richardson threw 2 picks. I mean, just wasn't really that impressive play by their offense. I think, and Will Levis, that's supposed to be their leader on that team. So, um, that's probably going to be my second takeaway here. Trying to go pretty quick here. Um, let's see. Third takeaway. I moved LSU, I think, up a little bit compared to my week 1, prediction after they got beat. Obviously they played, a no-name team, but I think they fixed a lot of things. They looked a lot better, more of a team, I could tell you, than they did in week 1, which we knew all going in week 1. You kind of really don't know. I mean, especially being, a new team, new, different transfers, different quarterback. different coach. I mean, they looked a lot more solid. I'm not going to say they looked good. I'm just going to say they looked a lot more put together or a little bit more composure in this game. I mean, uh, trying to go back here and see who exactly they play. I can't remember exactly who they played
Was Southern?
week 2. Yeah, it was some. I know it was some
I think it was
no-name
called.
team. Yeah,
It
it
was
was
called
Southern.
Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but 65-17, obviously, you can take positives away from that, even though it's Southern. I think they just looked like a lot more put together, with the pieces. They did get the ball to their playmaker a lot more, which is good. I think he only got, what, 2 receptions or 2 targets in that first game. So I've got them moving up a little bit. They're at 11. But overall, Georgia, first takeaway, they look really solid. They're one of the teams that just coming out of the gate just kind of looked like an improved team from last year and better than what they honestly looked like last year. Not really that much of a drop off. Um, Obviously, Florida at 7, just didn't really expect that. That's my second takeaway. Just really overrated, it kind of seemed like from times. I mean, Anthony Richardson just didn't play good. I think it really just exposed in that Kentucky game how much they leaned and relied on Anthony to just carry them. They have a couple playmakers, but I mean, Anthony Richardson, he's an athlete and for sure. But I mean, only one player can only do so much for a whole team, especially in this conference. And then third takeaway, obviously, just to LSU. They look more improved. We'll see how they do this week. I think they're playing Mississippi State, so that should be interesting. We'll see how they hold up there. But yeah, that's my 3 takeaways.
Okay, so looking at my power rankings, obviously you see Tennessee top 3. Again, I think it's too early in the season. Like we talked about last episode, I don't think there is a true cut and dry third team. But I don't think Kentucky's that third team. A lot of you guys looking at yours, you have Arkansas over Kentucky. I could see that, but also you guys have Arkansas over Tennessee. That is a surprise for me. If we played Arkansas, I think we'd destroy them. That's where I have them below me. Yes, they beat Florida. Florida, I think they're definitely overrated. We looked at them as an overrated team. Hyping them up too much. I think that's really it. Kentucky could definitely be lower, and I could see Arkansas for me. That's really one thing that I could just sort of interchange. I think 4, 5, and 6 spot. I think those are my interchangeables. I could see Mississippi State as a 4 seed for me, but I don't think I could put them over both Kentucky and Arkansas. That's one of my big takeaways. Obviously, my bottom of the pack, really all that's interchangeable. I think Texas A&M, Auburn, Missouri, South Carolina, those are really my interchangeables also. I think they can be flopped around. I think LSU could also be a part of that. Looking at where Florida is, I think that's a decent spot for them. I don't know if I'd drop them much further, maybe one more spot. I think they're sort of like a middle of the pack. I think that's really where they stand because I think they'd beat Ole Miss. I think they would beat Ole Miss, but I think it'd be a close game for sure. And then obviously I think they'd have a chance of beating LSU, Texas A&M, Auburn, Missouri, South Carolina. Obviously all those teams. So I think they're a good little putting them right in the middle. I think that's one of my major takeaways is just really looking at mine. It could be some controversy looking at it with Arkansas under Kentucky and Kentucky at a 4 seed, but that's really mine right there. My 3 major takeaways: Tennessee at 3, no real cut and dry 3 seed team. Florida middle of the pack, and then bottom half. We really throw anybody in there.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go with mine. So with mine, of course, last week, y'all remember Georgia, Bama at the top. I had Bama above Georgia, and I said it's interchangeable. I'm not really sure. Well, this past week showed me Georgia's the clear cut and dry number 1. So I put Georgia at 1 this week. I think we all have them at number 1 now, so we're all on the same playing field there. Then you look down, I've got Arkansas at 3, of course. Well, not necessarily, of course, because you kind of disagreed with me, but I think right now Arkansas deserves that 3 spot because they proved themselves. They've played Cincinnati, they played South Carolina, they did good. So for now, they get that spot ahead of us. I have us at 4. I think we deserve the 4 spot. Then Kentucky at 5. You know, Kentucky, I think they're overrated right now. I still think they're good, so 5, good spot for them. Mississippi State, most underrated team in the country. Think 6 is a good place for them. Ole Miss, that's probably good spot for them at 7. And then 8 is where I have Florida. I think that's pretty good for them. Like Connor said, middle of the pack team. And then you go down Missouri. I have them in last. I think they're the worst team in the SEC right now. Um, Vanderbilt, Missouri. Honestly, it's kind of opposite of last week where I had the number 1, number 2 interchangeable. I think number 13, number 14 is interchangeable right now. Not sure who is truly the worst, and we're not going to probably know until they play each other. So, and then LSU 12, Texas A&M. They dropped a lot. I have them at 11 now. And I still think they're a good team, but because they lost to App State, they're going down to 11. But I'm hoping I'm right and they beat Miami. If they beat Miami next week, I'm gonna move them probably up to like number 8 or 7. I think
Hmm. Yeah.
maybe even 6. So this week is a good chance for them to bounce back. And heck, even if they don't uh, win that game, they keep it close. I could see me moving them up to a 9 or 8. And then Auburn, I don't know too much about Auburn. I haven't seen them play, and so I put them behind South Carolina, just because I think South Carolina looked pretty good against Arkansas. But a lot of these rankings, I don't watch them play, so I'm going off their scores, and so it's kind of hard to rank some of these teams. But it's just the score I'm going off of, or what I'm going off of. So this is what I got. So,
Finish us off here, Trevor.
yeah, you got
All
it.
right, so guys, my week 2 SEC power rankings. My 3 takeaways are I kind of disagree with Connor a little bit. My first one is that Arkansas is the clear number 3 team in the SEC, and I don't think that's going to change until Tennessee shows me something or Kentucky shows me something. Arkansas is, in my opinion, the biggest threat to Bama in the West this season. They've looked good. The first 2 weeks, they've looked good. SEC win and a top 25 win already in their resume. I don't know. They just look good, I think. So my second takeaway is that Tennessee needs to prove that they're top 4. I have Kentucky at 4. I say Kentucky and Tennessee both had wins that were a little bit ugly, and both had big wins for their programs. But Kentucky won an SEC game. I'm gonna have them at 4 for now. I do not think they're gonna stay there very long at all. They might move next week. But they're at 4 because Tennessee needs to prove it a little bit more. Ugly win against a ACC opponent. We need to prove it a little bit more. And a win against Florida could do that for us. My last takeaway is A&M and Florida were definitely way overrated, but they're still a middle of the pack team in the SEC. I have Florida at 6, A&M at 7. Both those teams I think are middle of the pack still. Mississippi State, that's maybe one mistake I made. I think they should be higher. I think they will move up if they beat LSU next week, though. They've got definitely got to go get a win against LSU to move up for me. But A&M and Florida are still middle of the pack teams. I just think they're better than everyone else that's on the board still. Got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, South Carolina, LSU, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Missouri. I think they're both better than all those teams that are left on the board. But like I said, Mississippi State can definitely move up. So those are my power rankings, and those are my takeaways.
All
Mhm.
right. This is some good takeaways. So we want to end it off here, or
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in to episode 2 of the VolBoyz podcast. Remember,
Yes,
follow us on our
sir.
social medias. Follow us on our social medias
Always.
at
Go
YouTube,
Vols, baby.
Twitter, Instagram, all at VolBoyz podcast. That's boys with a Z. And we'll leave it off for that. Be sure to tune in to week 3 games in episode 3. So with that, go Big Orange and beat Akron,
Hey,
baby. Let's
Bum
go.
Nutty, baby.
dude,
Let's
and beat Florida.
go.
Don't forget.
The Tennessee Volunteers are back! They're back!